Hey, it's Stephen Boyle. This is iHitSendSunday, week 7. Oh my god, week 7. 7 is a magical number. I don't know if you guys knew that, but yeah, it's a magical number. Weird things happen on episode 7. Everyone has voted for the one video format. Everyone in the comments, there was not one person who was like, I'd like the episodic version. One video format it is, and in speaking of, my favorite comment on last week's video, which I'm going to start doing in all of these, from Peter, Peter. It's from Peter, and Peter said, I like the one video format, I like the clean-shaven look though. So, this one's for you, Peter. Week 7, iHitSendSunday. Let's dive into this, shall we? So my first question comes from a guy named Tommy, and Tommy says, first off, I would like to say that I think your channel is awesome. Thank you. Your poetry is so full of emotion, and your iHitSend videos help me a lot. I'm 21, nearly 22, and I'm still a virgin. Should I be worried? I kind of want to wait for the right guy before I take the plunge, but is this being stupid? Should I just hook up and get it over with? Any advice would be much appreciated, happy face. And love from England, exclamation point. Well, Tommy, you know, virginity is a very personal thing, of course. Some people don't really give a shit about it. Some people like hold it on high regard. Nobody is less pure for having sex. Sex is not something that we should be ashamed of. It's not something that we should be, you know, labeling as like a evil thing. I think religious connotations and old marriage things have like sullied that experience. But I'm not saying go run out and go hook up with somebody. Just going out and hooking up to get rid of your virginity because it's weighing on your back or something might not be the best course of action. You might as well make it something worthwhile. Make sure it's somebody who's going to go at your pace, and make sure it's somebody who's going to treat you with the kind of kindness and patience that you know, somebody who is just trying sex for the first time requires and deserves. You know, make sure that they're aware that you have to go slow, that they have to go slow, and yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, really. I mean, just, yeah. When I lost my virginity, I didn't even tell the person I was losing my virginity to them. So the person who took my virginity, you don't even know that you have it. If you're watching, it'd be kind of cool. I guess, would that be, yeah, I mean, like watching a video, be like, I banged that guy. And then, yeah, I don't know, either way. So moving on. So I got these 2 questions in my email, and I thought it was really interesting because I got 2 questions that were 2 different sides of a coin. And let me tell you about that coin by reading you the emails. The first question that I got, hey Steve, I'm a huge fan of your new series and have recently been faced with a new issue. I am the only openly gay boy in my grade, junior in high school. A few friends have frequently stated that I'll get a lot of closeted gay guys coming to me and asking for favors. Sexual favors. And stuff like that. I don't know whether or not to accept them, if it happens, and be known as a whore or ignore them completely. I've never had a boyfriend or any hookups. It'd be great to stay anonymous. So homie wrote me about this idea that if he is, now that he's openly gay, all these closeted gays are gonna look to him as like, well, if I'm really gay, I should try experimenting and see if this works out. So, you know, oddly enough, and not even a day later, I get an email from another guy, and this guy did not ask to be anonymous. His name is Matt, and Matt said, hey Steve, I've been thinking about writing to you for the past couple weeks, but I'm finally doing it. Good job, man. That's awesome. And anyone who's nervous about this, don't worry about it. It's, you know, I'm not going to put you on blast. So for the past semester, I'm in college. I've been questioning my sexuality. I've dated girls before, but I've always wondered what it would be like with a guy. I think I want to maybe be with a guy physically, but I don't know how to go about doing it. I have a friend who happens to be gay that I've thought about asking, but I don't want to make things weird. Should I find a random hookup? I don't really know. I don't know how to go about this. Thanks in advance for your advice, Matt. So, 2 different sides of the coin. We have a guy who's questioning his sexuality, who has a gay friend that he knows of, and he's thinking about asking him to experiment. And we have a guy who's openly gay and is wondering, like, what he should do when guys start coming to him with this question. If you're an openly gay guy, you become a beacon of hope to all these other gay guys around you, that some that you wouldn't even know were gay. And they're going to approach you, and they're going to be like, very awkward about it because they don't know what they're doing, and they're hoping that you know what you're doing because you're openly gay. Both sides are very nervous about this whole ordeal. The guy who's openly gay knows what he is in terms of to other closeted gay men. He's the guy who did it, who came out. Now he's like, all right, like who's next? And the closeted gay guys, of course, are thinking, well, could I ever do that? Like, well, maybe I should check if I'm gay. I should like see if this guy, would let me experiment or something like that. If you're a closeted gay man and you know a gay person, he might not be attracted to you. You might not be his type. It's like when you get changed in the locker rooms as a gay guy and like all the other straight guys are like, and you're like, no, I'm not into you. You're not like my type, and like the fact that you think that I would be into you is kind of insulting. Yeah, like that kind of scenario. So you have to be prepared to be shut down, of course, but that doesn't mean that all hope is lost. And for the guy who's openly gay, homie, if you're openly gay, you're going to have these experiences, and there's no right way or wrong way to handle them, I guess. You kind of just gotta do it at your discretion. Make sure you actually like the guy. I mean, don't just do it because he needs to figure his stuff out and he needs the experience to know if he's gay. Do it because you want to do it and not because they need to experiment. I hope that answers like both your questions. I mean, just know that the other person is out there and they're being vocal too. And I'm so glad that my show just coincidentally had 2 of these questions. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. If you're openly gay, guys are gonna find you. If you're closeted and gay, you're gonna look at those gay guys and they're gonna start to look really appealing because nobody else is out or everyone's too scared to be out. So the best thing you can do, of course, is just to come out, because then, you'll get propositions from all the other guys. And yeah, so I guess, yeah. Alright, so my next email, and this comes from a guy named Henry. And Henry says, hey Steven, you are doing so great. Such a nice persona and sound reasoning and everything. Oh, thank you, man. You are having such a big impact on people's lives. Thank you so much. Thank you for saying that. Those are very kind words. Please tell us about books. Your favorite ones. The ones you enjoyed the most in life. Those you would like to read but never managed so far. Your favorite poets and novelists. Whatever. Please feel loved by your anonymous audience. And Henry, yours, Henry. Well, thank you so much, Henry. I had to think about this question, so I took the liberty of writing some of my favorite books down throughout my past. So, starting off, that girl in your class who really liked horses? She used to make fun of me for reading her favorite books by Tamora Pierce, who's a fantasy author, and she basically deals with like young feminist roles, and they always have a horse, and it's like pretty awesome, and I read all of them, and I love Tamora Pierce. I met her. One of my books is signed. Here's Anthony, who wrote the Exynth series. I think that's how it's spelled. I've only ever read it, and few people have read this series, but it's amazing, silly, fun, awesome fantasy books that seemingly never end. I just finished Harry Potter about 2 weeks ago because I've been putting it off for years. I never wanted to finish the last book because I didn't want it to be over, but my boyfriend convinced me to. So thank you, Matt, and thank you, J.K. Rowling, for writing an amazing series. Infinite Jest, a very thick book. But I read that like 2 years ago. I quite enjoyed that. I would recommend it. Right now, I'm reading American Gods currently by Neil Gaiman, and I'm absolutely loving that. In terms of gay literature, I really enjoyed this book called Will Grayson, Will Grayson. This book about a gay superhero called Hero by Perry Moore. David Levithan, who wrote... I don't think it's David Leviathan, like the end of the world monster, but I think it's Levithan. But he wrote a book called Boy Meets Boy. Anything by David Sedaris, I would recommend Naked. Is fantastic. In terms of short stories, I would definitely recommend Flannery O'Connor. I studied her a lot in college. I still love her books. Some of my favorite stories are Good Country People, A Good Man is Hard to Find, The Artificial Nigger, and A Circle of Fire. Freak the Mighty, I think, is one of my favorite books of all time. I read that when I was very young. I would definitely recommend Freak the Mighty. Amazing. Anything by Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison is one of the best authors of our time. I don't think that gets said enough, but I would totally recommend Paradise, which is the third in a trilogy, not a trilogy, and The Bluest Eye, which I thought was amazing. I never got into Tolkien. I love fantasy, but I just am not into Tolkien. I don't dig the 13 pages of description before somebody just walks for 40 miles, but that, to each his own. I'm sure a lot of you love Tolkien. In terms of comic books, love the Far Side comics by Gary Larson, and Calvin and Hobbes is one of my favorite things in the world. In terms of poetry, Emily Dickinson, I stole her book from the library, her complete works. But then I went later and I bought the book and I returned the other book to the library because that was a bad thing to do. Shel Silverstein, of course, staple of my childhood, love his poetry. And my grown-up poetry is Allen Ginsberg. I would recommend Supermarket in California, or Howl, of course, is most famous one. And I'm going to end this list with Shakespeare, because Shakespeare, I know everyone is forced to study, but Shakespeare writes like amazingly. He invented a lot of words that we use. He's worth studying, and he's an amazing author. But mostly I just read to, you know, like escape, more or less. I think reality gets boring sometimes, and so, you know, I read fantasy for the magical element that we don't have in real life. And it's just not fair. What the fuck? What the fuck? So I hope you guys had fun. This is iHitSendSunday. That's Oliver. I'm Steve. Thank you guys so much for watching. Oh, and like and subscribe. I don't say that enough, but it helps me guys so much. It makes me feel good on the inside. Makes Oliver feel nothing because he's a stuffed animal. I have some new stuff in the works, guys. I'm working on a new poem. It's called Profanity. I just have to find someone who will let me perform it in Los Angeles. Thank you guys so much for writing in if you wrote in this week. If you guys want to be featured on next week's episode of iHitSendSunday, email me at iHitSendInquiries@gmail.com. And yeah, that sounds like it. Me and Oliver will see you next week. Peace.